Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Once again, back, it's the incredible. Welcome to...
That was awesome.
Welcome to All Over Voiceover with Kif BH. My name is Kif Vandenheuvel, and I am your host for this podcast. This is our inaugural podcast. We're kicking it off today. And with me in studio is the lovely, the talented Brian T. Delaney. Brian, we go way back to... When did we first... When was that improv class?
Oh, boy. 3 years ago?
I think that's right.
I think 3 years ago. You were only newly with CESD.
Yes.
I think. Yeah. And you were my first de facto improv teacher.
Now, we did the... it was a weekend intensive. Yeah.
I was lazy. I cheated. I did it.
No.
16 hours over a Saturday and a Sunday.
Dude, I honestly think...
I still want to take the,
Level 2?
Not level 1, the let's do it over time, over several weeks version of that, because I have a lot to learn. You know what I mean?
I think you did it right in a lot of interesting ways, not to bring up your evaluation from your improv class. Just as a quick side note, I teach improv at the Second City and have worked for the Second City since 1990. Yeah.
Not a day over 29.
Not a day
over 29.
That's because I moisturize and live in Southern California. Practice yoga. Have an active practice. You have to stay on top of your meditation and all those things.
Indeed.
And also a unhealthy habit playing Witcher 3. Right?
Boy, there you go.
But no, Brian came into our class and took at Second City and took an improv class. And it was I think the intensives are really helpful because you just get a wonderful immersion into...
It's like, Daddy, throw me in. No! Yeah, it's very cool.
But you immediately discover, you don't expect walking in that you're going to learn everything you need to know about improv. Right. You're going to learn one thing at a time, and that's really what matters, right? You learn how to pass energy back and forth.
And I took that class and, fortuitously got you and met you, and then we saw each other at the office a couple times.
Yeah.
I took that class to aid in my voice acting.
Really?
And then what happened a year or two later is now you teach a improv for voice acting class at Second City Hollywood, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So I mean that's awesome.
It really is. I love when those disciplines interact and intersect. And I think that's really the kind of the thrust of why not only I wanted to start things off by, talking with you because we're friends and we're active in the industry and we've worked together on top of the fact.
I know!
Which is amazing.
It wasn't the first time we worked together on Additional Voices, Star Trek Into Darkness.
Yes.
And you were so cool, man. Like when the energy went down, excuse me.
There's one for the Slayer.
Okay, I gotta put $1 in.
Right.
I have such a...
I have a potty mouth. This is why Disney won't hire me very often.
Here, I'm gonna kick a buck.
I kick a buck.
There's
we
the
have
buck.
a swear jar. We're making the show PG-13.
It's a PG-13 show. Well, that's not fair. I get one F word. That's the rule.
There was never an F word. Someone added the F word into PG-13. Because if you remember,
kidding?
Seriously, there's no F words in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
That's true.
Or in Sheena, Queen of the Jungle. Hey, man,
there's a lot more in Sheena, Queen of the Jungle, though.
It wasn't enough.
Can we do that now? I'm going to take my shirt off. You want to see them? So that's blue too. Is that another $1?
I can't believe that.
No,
that's fine. I just can't believe that you're not wearing a T-shirt under a Henley.
I am not wearing a T-shirt under a Henley. This is my Dexter garb. This is my kill shirt. This is what I do. What were we talking about?
Before you cussed.
Cussing.
So it was Star Trek Into Darkness.
And when the energy went down, you were like awesome. You kind of rallied everybody, and you played like a game, an improv game, and it was really, really awesome. I mean, it was a blessing to have you there.
Thanks so much, man.
And it was awesome to see you work with. You were an awesome, I guess what one could call it, a space station air traffic controller at one point. That's what you did at one of your plethora of things.
My favorite thing in that entire thing, and I still hear the track. So just for those of you joining us late, I don't know how'd you join late. You downloaded a podcast. But
this is purposeful.
That is. But we did ADR or audio dialogue replacement on Star Trek Into Darkness. And I'd worked another day on it with Fred and Julianne and
Fred
Elle.
Tatasciore, Julianne Busher,
yep.
Who Julianne is on the Muppet Show.
She's on the Muppet Show.
She's on the Muppets.
Amazing puppeteer. So funny.
She's awesome.
And Elle Newlands, who I adore. She worked for a couple days with us as well.
Sassy Scotty herself.
That's right. And she's done did you do motion capture with her?
I
with
did.
Elle?
On Halo 4,
Yes.
Spartan Ops. I worked with her. Yeah, she's awesome. She's awesome.
she is.
She still does. She's actually become quite the aficionado. I think Halo 4 was her first foray into it, but
Really?
she's been doing a lot of it.
That's so cool.
I think so.
Do you have to be in great shape to do mocap? I know. I mean, it's like, seriously. I mean,
look nice in that Lycra bodysuit, and so you don't want to give yourself an eating disorder. Maybe.
Right. But I mean, outside of when I did mocap for like Midnight Club 3 Dub Edition, I was probably 20 pounds heavier than I am now. So
I bet you looked like a lot of gorgeous.
I looked like a friggin' seal, a zombie seal walking around.
Seal.
But it was early in mocap. It was really cool because I went to Rockstar in New York into their volume there, which was really fun. But they didn't do any facial capture stuff at all, so I didn't have the little dots and the pinpoints and the grids on the face. It was 2003 when we did Midnight Club 3 Dub Edition.
Did you have like ping pong balls on your suit? Because back then they were like ping pong balls.
Yeah, they were good size. They weren't quite ping pong ball size. They were maybe like Olympic ping pong size official, but tiny. And it was interesting to see them in the volume because they did glow a little bit.
When you take a picture, you can tell, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the wireframes were very, very basic. So it didn't seem like body type was an issue, but it's the kind of thing that I'm curious about because I haven't done motion capture since then.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a whole new world, man.
I know, and that's kind of part of it. Is I'm like, do I need to not that I don't want to get myself in better shape, but do I need to have some Taekwondo experience and get some weapons training, stuff like that?
Let me put it to this way. I'm only going to answer from obviously my perspective, my point of view, and my experience.
Understood.
And it isn't vast. If you really want to talk to somebody, get somebody on here somebody like Tom Williams. He's a stunt coordinator. He works on plenty of games. As a performer, as just a performer like you or me.
Yeah.
It always helps to be in command of your physical instrument.
Yes.
And that's not. Having said that, it doesn't mean that you can't be, 230 pounds. If you are in command of that instrument and it doesn't impede you breathing, doesn't impede you moving, and you're just this big guy, and that kind of adds to this beautiful baritone or bass voice that you have, or it gives you some sort of gravitas or power. Well, that's aiding your instrument in a way vocally, but as long as you're not going to have, heart problems or something, you're fine. But having said that, I believe in my experience, I always feel better about the physical work I do when I'm in some sort of shape.
Yeah. When
it comes to Taekwondo and weapons training, video games with performance capture, motion capture, it's not a whole lot different than a movie. There's there's stunt performers there, and they're always in awesome shape. Yeah. And they do a lot of that. They do a lion's share of that work. Occasionally, I worked a mocap job yesterday. As a matter of fact, I did. And I did my part, and then we need you to be kind of an evil robot android enemy thing.
Okay.
And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And I'm not a stunt person, so they just had me and gravity meet and gravity wins. I just fell backward onto a mat, so wasn't really technical, but it was so exciting. But even in that the simplest of stunts. I had to hold my leg up and then put that leg on an apple box, and I had to hold it until action, and then I kind of have to fall a certain way. So you have to be in command of your arms because they want it to look a certain way.
Yeah.
And if you have command of your physical instrument, it's a whole lot easier to, execute a direction. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So that's my answer to that.
That makes a ton of sense. And I think it's one of those things that you put that as I was asking the question too, not judging the question, but because I think it's a good question, but it does follow that it makes sense. Of course, you should be in the same kind of condition that you would want to be if you were going in to do a feature. Mm-hmm. When I was doing Richie Rich, I had to do a couple falls because my character was a klutzy idiot who would slip on banana peels and spin and fall. And those mats, when you do a fall, you got to fall right.
Yeah.
Because you can really ring your bell if you're not careful. Even if you're just doing a simple fall onto a crash pad mat. Mm-hmm. I didn't jack myself up, but it was still kind of oh, wow. Mm-hmm. Hey, man, let's take a second here. I had one fall. There was a super episode where we had this a wrestling match happen, and I leaned on something and I fell off of the ring onto the ground, and there were a bunch of stunt performers, and there was like a luchador fight between Irona. It's a really funny episode.
That's awesome.
They were wonderful, but it was a heck of an experience.
It was very cool. That sounds very cool.
It was so fun.
But listen, when it comes to this kind of stuff, it's forgive me, I'm going to go back to like just being in command of your instrument. How being in the performance capture volume, the motion capture volume is a little different. Is sometimes the takes, because camera setups aren't necessarily the same as film.
Yeah.
You could go longer. A stunt could be in the midst, 2 or 3 stunts could be in the midst of kind of a page or 2 of dialogue in some instances. That's not really common, but that can happen. So you really got to have the stamina up there. You know
so have you run into, like, I remember watching, it was maybe the opening video for, I want to say Halo 5. I'm not certain, but I think America Young posted it. Like, here's you guys, awesome.
It must have been Halo. Was it recently?
Yeah.
It must have been Halo 5. That opening cinematic is so awesome.
So how much of that cinematic is a continuous thing? I know that you can make it like one long shot, but like how much of that on the performers is like, oh, you know what? You fell funny or you blew a line. Can we go back and grab it? Or do you get it in one? What's the production aspect of that? Like for some of the stuff you did for Fallout, like how for longer cinematics, would you compare it much more consistent to like, let's get a master shot? There's no need to do close-ups. You never come in,
right,
like you say. So,
well, the Fallout 4 experience was different. I did do performance capture, but I did it in the booth. So it was a VO session.
So it was all facial capture.
I never did in the volume, but I did facial capture in the booth.
I see.
Now, with Halo 5, I can give you an answer because I like you, and I don't want to say I don't know to anything you say. But
don't violate any confidentiality stuff or out anybody.
I don't think I am. I mean, it's so close, man. With both games, I mean, we got Halo 5 Guardians dropping October 27th.
Oh my God! Next
People
week?
are already playing it, but I'll tell you that in a second.
Is it like a beta, or they get a hacked version?
I don't know. I'll talk about that in a second. I'm ignorant to it. I don't know nothing. I can't violate an NDA because I'm ignorant about this.
I understand.
But with Halo 5 Guardians, the piece that you mentioned, it's above my pay grade, but I'll give it a shot.
Uh-huh.
They did that scene in the volume where Captain Lasky and Palmer, Darren O'Hare and Jennifer Hale. Shut up!
Jennifer Hale.
And Darren O'Hare is my buddy.
Awesome.
He's awesome as Captain Lasky. They stand around this thing. They do the lines. The performers that are the holograms, they'll do the lines in the communication. And everybody just stands around. From what I saw from a video, there's actually making of featurettes online that you can find that they show you a lot of material in the volume. And it's really, really awesome. It's called The Sprint. It's Halo. Look it up. It's The Sprint. If you go to YouTube, Halo, The Sprint, there's like 4, 5, 6 episodes, maybe 7 episodes.
About how they made that
whole thing.
Oh, that's great.
But like, obviously like they'll do a little like jump out of frame, I think, instead of, obviously they don't have you jump in the air and like as you're soaring down to the terrestrial land,
right.
Keep holding, like it's not like that. So, but yeah, if you just watch, go to the Halo Waypoint, go to the Halo YouTube channels, Halo, follow Halo, do anything with Halo, and they have so much rich, wonderful, educational style information that they show you how it's done.
That's
really
so
cool.
amazing.
Yeah.
I think that, the behind the scenes stuff, I remember, we grew up roughly in the same era.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when Star Wars hit, and then there was the CBS ran an hour-long documentary about how it was made.
From Star Wars to Jedi, the making of a saga?
That's it.
But first of all, Mark Hamill narrates it awesomely.
Oh, but he does.
I have found so many... I was starving for that because I remember as a kid seeing that on CBS and thinking, oh my gosh, look at all those guys inside Jabba the Hutt. And that blew my mind. You know what I mean?
And the readiness of that information just wasn't there. You had to either get books from the public library to figure stuff out.
Dewey Decimal System.
That's right. Which I just used to find a really great video that I'll talk about.
You used the Dewey Decimal System?
I did. I was lost. I went to the Santa Monica Public Library and was looking for videos.
All millennials can tune out now.
Millennials, you will need it because it's existing. It's out there, and it's pretty straightforward.
That's true. No, I shouldn't slag you off about that.
If you find that card catalog thing or find it in the computer, I was able to find like a couple videos. I went looking for one video and ended up finding 2 others that were in the associated area because of the Dewey Decimal System.
Hey, thank you,
because
Dewey.
It was organized based on topic, instead of being on by alphabetical by author. I never would have found this video.
It's when people did organize stuff, not just keywords.
You can find back in the day. You could find anything all over that. I'm doing a bad Billy Crystal.
I know. Well, you're doing Miracle Max a little bit.
Listen, I remember you. It's more based on his two blade.
So,
which is anyway.
So listen, on the heels of what you're saying, because I've been lovingly and I believe. I think it's a good thing, indoctrinating my children with Star Wars and Indiana Jones.
I think so.
I've been like, I'll sit in the reading room, as it were, on the porcelain throne. And I've been just shoving my ears full and videos full of like Spielberg interviews and stuff like that and George Lucas. Yeah. And it's so funny that you said that because George Lucas was giving some sort of speech or some sort of commencement or some sort of inspirational speech or something like that at some event. I can't remember what it was. And he says, back then, they would go to film school, but nowadays everything's basically on YouTube, and that's what film school was for them. If you want to know, according to George Lucas, in so many words, if you want to know what it was like to sit in a class in film school, I guess in the 60s and 70s, it was just like go to YouTube, look up Truffaut, Kurosawa, and now Spielberg and Lucas, and now it's like the information's out there.
Yeah.
And you get to see behind the scenes. You get to see process. You get to see what these directors of legend talk about. And I think it's so awesome. You know what I mean?
It's an amazing time. And you just get to take so much time out of the process. And that's part of what this is like, I wanted to be able to do this.
This is what you're trying to do right now. Yeah.
I want to, not necessarily I want to be part of the archive as well. And I want people to look back because I'm a narcissist. And I'm not ashamed to admit a little bit of that. I
it's kind of a prereq.
It is a little bit,
to admit it.
Right? But I love the work, and I want to share it, and and I'm curious. I want to know, about different people's process, and I want to find aces I can keep from experiences that you've had.
Did you just use the Gambler lyrics?
Yeah.
That's so awesome.
Have you never heard me do that before? I use that all the time.
I don't think I've ever heard it. Maybe I didn't notice the last time.
To those of you who don't know, Kenny Rogers, before he made chicken, before he showed up in a Geico commercial, in fact, there's a Geico spot running right now with our good friend Leonard, who's in it, from CESD. Leonard, who's the African-American guy.
Leonard Howes?
Yeah.
He was in Barbershop.
Yes.
1 and 2.
That's right.
I love that guy.
Oh, he's the nicest guy.
He's awesome. I love his smile. He's got a great
really,
smile.
Really funny.
I'd buy anything off that beautiful smile.
Oh man, no doubt.
Mm-hmm.
But he's playing cards with Kenny Rogers, and that lyric of in there.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Those final words, I found an ace that I could keep, and I really, that not only stuck with me and stuck with you, obviously,
yeah.
But I like that idea that when you'll have a conversation, or when you listen to someone, or when you find an interesting YouTube would be what I'm referring to, not just interesting.
Wow, you're doing like the
interesting tube.
Go into the tube.
Look, you got to find an interesting tube if you're
Nick,
surfing, huh?
Nick,
what?
Nick,
I'm sorry.
Get back to Ghost Rider 3, please.
Sorry, that's right. The world needs Ghost Rider 3.
Come on.
But when you find those interesting things, different stuff sparks. And I mean, I find that from a good sermon from Monsignor. I'm Catholic. I find that in a fantastic film, or a great record album, or liner notes.
Back in the 90s, man, before the internet was the internet as it is today, I mean, you and I probably salivated and just devoured like any biography, even in print. Not that print is dead. Who knew Egon, by the way, would be so prescient in 1984 to know print would be dead? But yeah, like we would devour like A&E biographies, E biographies, just what did this actor do? What did that actor do? And you can cull anything you want and use it.
You just get excited and interested in all of it.
Mm-hmm.
And, I don't know, it's just super fun. I love everything associated with this business.
Mm-hmm.
And
hold on. Let me flip the script a little bit.
Sure.
Let me flip the script a little bit. How did you get to your first voiceover booking audition agent? We're talking the entire Midwest.
Yeah.
The northern part of the Midwest was your stomping ground at first, right? Okay.
Yeah. Well, so my grandfather was a minister in the Christian Reformed Church, and he would do record his sermons on not dissimilar from the setup we have here. Okay, it was a 1/4-inch microphone, 1/4-inch jacked microphone plugged into a dual cassette deck.
Hey man, that thing you do, that's how they recorded
their
first album.
So I plopped tapes in there. If I found blank tapes, whenever we would go over to their house to visit, I would slide into Grandpa's study and screw around with his lighter. And I wasn't smoking anything. I was just playing with it, trying to figure out how to work his
fire is fascinating to young children.
It really is. And then making things with, just he had a cool desk of miscellany, a magnifying glass and
it's the roll top desk thing, and it's a treasure trove of information.
And there's a packet of Bokum Riff tobacco. The white package with the plastic.
This is a sensory exercise.
Oh, it is though. It's so much of voiceover to me. Mm-hmm. That's why I love going to Voicecaster or going over to the Kalmansons. Like that those, or even like LA Studios. These are all recording studios, or actually casting directors here in Los Angeles, and they've been here for a long time. And you know that the doors that you're walking through were walked through by the greats of our business, and continue to be so.
Yeah.
And you see the 1/4-inch tape.
Yeah,
on the walls of everybody's reels, and So, but you go in there and you can still sort of smell the pipe tobacco.
Yeah, there's history there.
That's right. It's musty.
Very rich.
It's like a doctor's lobby.
A doctor from a bygone era.
That's right. There's a clown painting on the wall, and it's just this wonderful connection to that time. It makes me feel like a kid in a way,
right?
Because of that. And I would record like radio show stuff or do impressions or dub Phil Collins, No Jacket Required.
Oh, good album.
Great album. Sussudio. Still trying to figure out what it means. But I played. And that's really where I think my journey in voiceover really began, was there.
Oh, yeah.
And then, time passed and I, did stuff in college and messed around and loved microphones. But my first booking was, I think I did 3 commercials for Milwaukee's like Time Warner cable thing.
Okay.
It was like,
we always do the regions first.
That's right.
I'm from Philadelphia, so I did like a regional whatever.
There you go.
Comcast.
So you were doing VO stuff back in Philly too.
Just one job in 1998 for Comcast, before it was Comcast.
Right.
I just like Comcast Cablevision.
Yeah.
And what's funny is I auditioned and they had lines from famous movies, and I remember my 2 lines was wax on, wax off, like as a New York cabbie. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then my other line was, you had me at hello, which is like this really like gentle guy doing the line from Jerry Maguire. So I mean, like then I never did it again until 2007 or 2008.
Wow.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
That is wild.
I know, it's wild. Anyway.
It's funny how it comes and goes like that.
Yeah.
Because I was a multimedia producer in the late 90s.
Okay.
My ex-wife at the time, or my wife at the time, not my ex-wife at the time, we were married at that time. She was in graduate school.
Well, this is Back to the Future Day.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Marty! We were in Toledo, Ohio, and I started working for a company where I was producing interactive training on blow molding machines and that kind of stuff for Owens, Illinois. The people who made that bottle.
Oh, wow.
I can tell you everything you need to know about polyethylene terephthalate.
Oh, that's another podcast. I'm sure you'll get lots of subs on that one.
I think you're right. I think that's my next.
Lots of subs on that one.
Plastics and you.
This is Materials Engineering Hour with Kit Vandenhue.
Good afternoon. So polyethylene terephthalate.
You better be Pete Sweaty Balls in that thing, or you're going to be dying.
It's very good for high pressure vessels. So, but while I was producing, I wanted to get into this, so I cast myself doing a couple industrials.
Oh, no. See, that's the best way to give yourself a job. Get yourself a job. Get yourself a job.
Give yourself a job.
Very good.
Right?
Very good.
That's what you do. You give yourself a job and you figure that out. Yeah. And that's, after that, I built a relationship with a mixer who did all of our recordings. Mm-hmm. And then he introduced me to the company who did the spot for Wisconsin. Mm-hmm. And then I started to do a little bit more. But like at my talent agency in Detroit, once we moved up to Detroit and I started doing Second City and got involved and joined the union and things, because Detroit was a union town, it's a great town to be able to do automotive. So I booked my first, I booked my first national campaign for Dodge.
Oh, okay.
And I wasn't like the AVO. The AVO is like the announcer on the spot. Yeah. I was a voice in the spot.
Like a guy.
Exactly.
An everyman in the spot.
And the bit was like, there's 50,000 NASCAR racers all going around the track, which is totally wrong. There's only maybe 26. My NASCAR. My NASCAR knowledge is weak at best. But the idea is there's 50,000 people in the stands watching a NASCAR thing, and they're all screaming. Ever wonder what they're screaming about? And they bring the volume down, and you hear one voice. And it was me.
That was
screaming,
you.
Yeah. Save, $300 on a new Dodge. Blah, 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 blah. But I screamed it.
And was the engineer ready for this level?
It was fine.
Okay.
It was fine. That was part of the game.
Oh, okay.
Of the scene.
Understood.
But the point was, I thrashed my voice. Thrashed it, and I was doing sort of like this Bill Murray sort of a break in the scream, and the producer told me, it's like, your voice broke in the audition, and that's why we cast you. But the reason I tell you about all that stuff is just to say that my talent agent in Detroit just repped me for everything: theatrical, commercial, voiceover, whatever the market had. It just was what it was. And when I got to Chicago, it was the first time where I really had a separate voiceover agent and then an on-camera one.
Right.
So like, and all of that, like I think we're saying, and just, hopefully an ace that someone could keep that may be listening someplace across the Great Plains of our beautiful country or across the seas, and you're in Sweden and you understand English and are fascinated by what's being talked about. Hello. Thank you for joining us from Stockholm. The point is, don't wait. Like, start where you are.
Where you are. You know what's funny? I'm sorry to interrupt. Yeah.
No, please.
Well, my wife used to be in the industry as an on-camera commercial agent, and honestly, when she would do different things, let's say in Phoenix or wherever, that she only did a few before she got out of the business. We have 3 kids, as you know, and so she got out of the business. But man, oh man, how important it is to just start where you are. Yes. I mean, that's an ace everyone can keep. If you don't already live here, don't not know anything and come here. I mean, you could. It can happen, but you'd be really, really doing yourself a disservice. Start where you are. See if you can get union status where you are. Work regional jobs. Cut your teeth on non-union gigs like that, everybody does when they're 19.
Right.
I did that what's the name? That Comcast radio spot when I was like, how old was I? 19 or 20. Like I was that was just a little one-off job. I didn't know nothing. I didn't know how to do nothing.
Right.
And just do it where you are. And then, when you are ready, and you will know when you know.
You will.
And by the way, side note, I'm so sorry.
No.
This is how you know. I believe this is my own personal philosophy.
Oh, really interesting.
I did when my wife and I still lived back east in the Delaware Valley. I did a little bit of like acting class teaching of just local people that wanted to try it out. Whether it was just like aspirations I always wanted to and never did, or a hobby, whatever. This fella asked me like, so what do you think after these 5 weeks? 5 weeks of 1 day a week. What do you think? Can I do it? Can I make it? Can I have it? Can I blah, blah, blah? And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, well, I don't know. And then he kind of challenged me a little bit. He was older than I am, and he probably didn't want to hear it from a 20-something.
Right.
And he kind of, pushed me into a corner a little bit. Like, come on, don't be a coward. And I'm like, my pride got pricked a little bit. I'm like, hey, man, the answer to your question is if you have to ask, the answer's no. So, and I didn't mean to be a dick about it, but it's one of those things like, when you know, and you can know, I believe, you can know when you're ready, when you stop asking everyone around you if you can do it. You're like, forgive me, F it, I'm going.
Yeah.
And that, that's kind of where me and my wife were. She was saying, what, you keep doing this around in the regions, and what do you think? And I'm like, let's do this thing. And we did it. And, just like wherever you are, even if it's a small hamlet outside Wichita.
Right.
Do it where you are, then move up.
There is someone in Wichita writing commercial copy for an ad for a company that needs to sell mattresses.
And why not?
Why not?
Why not when you're 20 or even when you're 45 and you say, the kids are out of their house, son. What do you want to do? What do you want to do? And just do it where you are. And this is a marathon. It's not a sprint. It's not fly by night. By the way, especially voiceover. And that's such an important thing to note. Voiceover is not fly by night. Like what do I do? And this is an answer to a lot of the questions I get from my newfound kind of connection to a fan base.
Yes.
Is how did you get your start in voiceover, and how do I get a start in voiceover? Well, you know what I just said, I think what you just said, and actually I just kind of like took it over.
What we just said
is it's individual. How I got here was a Herculean collaboration of several people in my life and out of my life now that really, got me here, including me. I'm not being falsely self-deprecating, but also, there's resources. Valuable resources. I know you've seen it. I know I've tweeted it out and done stuff like that. But for instance, I was telling my wife in anticipation of talking about this stuff, and what I know your mission statement is on this thing is like, give back, let people be in the know about what we do. Is, I'm going to say this: if anybody has any questions about how to get started in voiceover, I can share it with you, and I'd love to share it with you. Actors love to talk.
Yep.
But D. Bradley Baker has expended an enormous, generous amount of time in putting together a website. I believe it. It just left me what the site is, and I'll have to tweet it out again. But so you want to be a voiceactor.com. And he has page after page. It feels like reams of information answering every question that he's been ever asked, which really is exhaustive. And just really ask yourself tough questions, because how I did it or how you Kiff did it or how everybody did it, it's different for everybody. However many actors there are, that's the ways to get into voice acting.
I have that, people will ask that question of how do you get into it? Right. It's like, I don't know that you can follow my path.
You don't know everybody I knew back in the 90s.
Right, exactly. Right. A lot of those people aren't still in business. A lot of those companies aren't in business. What matters is how you get into voiceover. It doesn't matter what I did. What the commonality is, I think, twofold. One, you've got to have vision is the wrong word, but you've got to have the determination or be able to see yourself being able to do it. I mean, I know the thing that people would ask me for the longest time, I still hold on to this, and I've actually done it, is people say, what do you want to accomplish in this business? And I say, I want to play a cop on TV.
Right.
Right. And I'm kind of waiting for my body to catch up to the type.
Or your age to catch up to your body.
Right. But then I just did a bit on Fameless, David Spade's show on True TV, and I played a cop on TV.
And that counts, man.
It does count, but I'm not satisfied. I want to play a different kind of cop.
And that's what I think you're getting at.
It.
That's that
build to build and to know and to solve and to ask and to pursue. I love, one of my favorite things is the secondary title to the Michael Keaton film Birdman, which was The Unexpected Virtue of Ignorance. And I think that that's a really marvelous subtitle to put over, certainly for me, the beginning of my voiceover career, the beginning of my acting career. I found myself producing and watching people. I worked on a TV series in my early 20s, and I watched people do this work every day for a series for CBS called Christie. And I remember watching, going, those guys are good. They're good, but I know I could do that. Not to take anything away from what they're doing, but I do feel like the difference between them and me is a series of life choices. And what am I doing to either be prepared, to learn, to get in front of the casting director? I'm from Grand Rapids, Michigan originally. So, how is someone who's my equal in terms of age, how are they a series regular on this drama? That's a question for you, by the way, as a sort of.
Well, don't lose where we were.
Okay. Then I don't want to fold. I'll come back to my other thought. What were you going to say to that? No, I'll put another fold mark. I'm going to fold the page.
You're going to dog ear that one?
I want you to
use my dollar bill for my F word slip.
Fold that. Where are you going?
It's one of those things, like, there's something to be said about doing it. And I think that that's a good, because what you said is what separates us from this and this and the series of life choices. And one of those life choices is actually taking the plunge and doing it.
Yes.
But there is, and there's something, this could be a hard truth, I think. I don't believe, in my experience, I trained. There was something there that when my wife, kind of vouched for me and kind of like, talked to me about CESD's on-camera department, they took me on. I kind of got to know the voiceover department, and Kathy Lizio kind of like opened this whole new world up to me. She's an agent at CESD. Yeah. And, I still trained. They recommended, okay, maybe here's your choices. I mean, these are great coaches, this person, this person, this person, this person. And you train. I'm going to take a private class with Ginny McSwain.
Oh, great.
You still train. I don't stop.
Is it the one she's doing with Charlie Adler? She's got there's one in
I'm going to do
private.
Private one.
That's great.
And it's, it's just one of those things where it's just like, I'm not going to stop. I mean, I'm not going to stop taking classes every once in a while. You get to a place and, baseball players, football players, basketball players, hockey, they don't it's not like they start the season and like, I don't have to practice anymore. No,
Right.
they practice between those games. And I feel I need that. Training is vital. Training is vital in acting, overall acting, making choices,
Yes.
embodying a character, drawing from yourself, that kind of stuff. That doesn't change in voiceover. And there's a misconception, I believe, with, I do funny voices. You know what I mean? And it's a good tool to have a great ear, to be able to execute or mimic, and you're awesome at it. Just a shout out to Kif's talents, man. The man does a beautiful, spot on Michael Keaton, even physically. The physical is just as impressive as the audio. Lewis Black, Nicolas Cage. I love your Nicolas Cage. You do one of the best Bruce Willises, and he's from originally my part of the country, and you can do it from Grand Rapids. So I mean, like, there's training along with that natural desire and that seeing it. But doing and training is so vital. On top of that, and this is where I'll stop. I'm sorry.
No.
Don't forget where you were.
Yeah.
There's seeing what you've done, meaning there's missing the obvious and shooting for something either too high or over here. When I was a kid, I idolized like Tom Cruise and Bruce Willis and everybody, Sylvester Stallone, Rocky and Rambo right there.
Right.
And I wanted to I came out here with aspirations of like, at the very least, hey, maybe I could be like a second lead on a sitcom, or I could do that. Well, those were never in the cards, at least up until this point. Those were never in the cards. But my wife helped me see, hey man, you know what? This voiceover thing is a really great gig. The hours are great. You get to see your family.
Yeah.
And it's so fun. And honestly, Bri, you've been doing this since you were a kid. You imitated you told me the story, right? Like, you imitated Crocodile Dundee back in '87 when you first saw it on VHS. Like, my mother can even attest, like, walked around the house just doing accents poorly, or do the Swedish Chef. I was Crocodile Dundee, Rocky, my dad's old Steve McQueen and Lee Marvin movies. I was always doing that. I wasn't acting. I was training to be a voice match. You know what I mean? So it's just like, that was always there, and I never saw it. I never knew voiceover. There was Mel Blanc, and then there was, the cast of like The Simpsons, Ren and Stimpy, Bugs Bunny and the rest of the gang, and it was just like, I didn't have a concept of it. I was ignorant, and then boom, it through this coalescing of all these influences and support. My career, and I think you may agree with this wording of it, and correct me if you don't.
Sure.
It's a picture of what theater arts is. It's a collaboration.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? And that was my point. Anyway.
I think that's a wonderful point, because it is that you look back on who you were, your true self, and not to go diving too deep into my own personal past and stuff like that, but like, I know that, after my separation and consequent divorce, I snapped back into a sense of who I was at the beginning, and it's not her fault. It was who I made myself become to become something different.
Wow, you're going real deep on my
I
example.
know. Hey man,
my example was just
but it ties into that, because
it does tie into it. Yeah,
it's a whole thing. It's not a part of me.
Right.
My Bruce Willis impression is as connected to my DNA.
And how could it not be after the Nakatomi mishap?
Right.
But yeah, I get
You know what I mean?
I hear you.
Come out to the coast. We'll get together, have a few laughs. It's just
How do you do that? That's fantastic.
I don't know. But I watched
it.
that movie 9 times in the theater. It's the one movie I saw in the movie theater more times than anything else.
Wow.
But I didn't have a VCR. It wasn't out on VCR. I took my dad to go see it for his 46th birthday. I forget exactly which birthday it was, but
that's a great friggin' movie.
It's a great friggin' movie.
Great friggin' movie. And when the everyman could blow up a building, and you don't have to look like Sylvester Stallone or Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, that's right. And it's where all that stuff sort of began, where like the Chris Pratts of the world,
right?
And Jeremy Renner, these guys can thank Bruce Willis for taking us into that place of the everyman superhero.
My heart gets warmed every time I'm heading back toward the valley on Santa Monica Boulevard, like toward Hollywood, and I see the big Nakatomi. It's still standing alone.
Oh yeah, the Fox building
stands alone. The Fox building stands there, and I'm like, Nakatomi!
Yeah, every time I got to go to the Fox lot, I can't help myself.
You just stand back.
You stand back.
You drive slower, right?
Well, when I was out here, I interned at a talent agency in 1991. I was out here.
Oh, that's right, dude. Tell your Cheers story later. I'm sorry, never mind.
Which store? The Cheers store?
Anyway.
Oh, the Meet and Kelsey.
Meet and Kelsey. Yeah. I'm sorry, never.
It was
That's
amazing.
Another time.
Kelsey was great, and then I get to work with him on another show. I told you about that, right? With Partners. I did a day on this show called Partners.
I don't know if you told me.
But I got to work with Kelsey and with Martin Lawrence on a TV series called Partners. It was a day player, I played a security part. It was awesome.
Talk about coming full circle.
Yeah.
From 91 to now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then like at the hotel, like the apartment complex where we stayed, the Oakwood Apartments.
Oh, the Oakwood on Barham?
Yeah, right over here.
That's awesome.
Like, you talking about full circle. Like, I'm a full sphere right now.
Right.
Like, I got to shoot an episode of a show that got canceled on CBS called We Are Men.
Okay.
That I played a German sounding guy in a Speedo, but we shot it at the pool that I used to swim at Oakwood Apartments. So like
it's
driving
moments
up
like
on
that, man. It's moments like that.
Yeah. I
love
hanging
anyway,
out with
back in
Tony
91, did I derail you? Back in
No.
91? Okay, that was okay.
Back in 91,
I think I derailed you.
no, here was what I was going for.
Oh, sorry.
Was the Bruce Willis is as much a part of me, or the impressions, or my love of pizza and my very disappointing
Different hungers, but they're all a part of it. Right,
my
right,
very disappointing lactose intolerance. So like now I can't have the kind of pizza. And I found a great pizza place out here. There's lots of great pizzas.
Sponsored by Lactate.
I'll tell you something.
Tiff
By the
Show.
way, for those of you who think about coming to Los Angeles, one unexpected glorious thing about this town is the food. I think.
Okay.
But I may be alone.
Delaney was silent for a time.
Suddenly,
listen, here's the deal, man. I live 2 hours south of New York, and I'm from Philadelphia. The home of the hoagie.
I get you.
You know, Lorenzo's Pizza on South Street.
So you can't
know
get
what
that
I mean?
out here?
Oh, no.
So
The
there's
bread is
regionally
different.
things, but
Either
the bread
there's
is
the
different.
moisture
I
and the mountain, the elevation here. The bread ain't the same. You know, you may like it back in Grand Rapids, but
well,
back
yeah,
in
I grew up in
Philadelphia.
a very Dutch community where it was like, well, there's oliebollen and which is fried dough.
I'll tell you this. It took me a while to first, allow myself to take in the avocado experience because every sandwich has avocado on it out here by default.
When you're lactose intolerant and you lose cheese, avocado is the greatest thing.
lifesaver?
Oh my God. It brings a little bit of flavor, a little bit of creaminess to
There you
stuff
go.
that you can't. I had a stand.
I like it now. I'll guac and salsa at the same time.
That's awesome.
But yeah, anyway.
So here's something I want to share with you real quick. I'm going to play this bit. So, just a side note before we dive into some more. Not this weekend, but the following weekend is Stan Lee's Kamikaze. Here in town, October 30th, 31st, and November 1st. And I host a panel called Voice NATO. We've done it for the past couple of years, and we have a lot of our friends, common voiceover people from Rachel Butera, Amy Phillips, Amanda Troop, Eric Lopez, Scott White, Andre Soluzo, sorry, Andre, Fred Tatasciore, the great Chris Cox, and then myself. And Chris Cox did a promo for us, and I'm going to share with you this special message from Chris Cox doing one of his many spectacular impressions. Enjoy.
Hello, this is Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I want to tell you that you should come to Kamikaze Con Saturday, October 31st, to see Voice NATO. It's 9:30 in the morning. You're going to have all this tremendous comedy coming from the people who are going to do the impressions of all the celebrities and all this stuff. And they're going to make jokes, and they're going to improvise, and they're going to read different scenes and all of this stuff from the famous movies and the Al Pacinos and Robert De Niro and all this stuff. And even maybe the Hunger Games. So it's, more modern. But whatever the case, come to Kamikaze Con to Voice NATO. October 31st, 9:30 in the morning. Wake up. Come on. Be there, or I will make a baby with your nanny.
Chris Cox, ladies and gentlemen.
That man is amazing. He's going to be our guest next week. He'll be here.
He's a vocal chameleon. Oh, he's next week?
Yeah, next week he's going to be here. I got to solidify times and stuff next time. But Chris will be here. And we were just talking during the break. If you would like to, please come and hang out whenever you want to hang.
Oh, Kiff. Thank you.
You're just, you bring a unique point of view, and we have I think a very common worldview, very common, a very specific and shared worldview about not only this work, but kind of, we both came up in interesting times and came up in a market, that was smaller.
The post-voicebank.net,
that's
generation,
right.
That's
I mean?
right.
VoiceBank has changed everything, and voices.com and voices123.com are out there. So it's never been easier in some respects to get started, but we can talk about, because I get this question all the time of what mic should I get? And
I have a commercial for you.
You do?
If you really want to know. There's this, do you mind me just interrupting?
No, please. Listen, I'm looking for something that I can pass on to people.
Well,
my point is I've been on a Sennheiser 416 for 6, 7, 8 years. The shotgun
the industry
mic.
standard because
That's right.
it sounds like the movie.
That's right.
I have some interesting. I have a couple of aces that I got from this fella, and it's a plug for this guy. Juan Carlos Bagnell.
Oh yeah.
Okay, I was a bit at sea on. I'm ignorant to the tech. I was just talking to Josh Keaton. That guy, he does cars, he does tech, he does programs, like everything from Audacity all the way up to Pro Tools, and he does mics and all this stuff. I'm like, wow. I'm really I'm humbled by these guys with their knowledge, and they do other things. Yeah. So I was at sea. I'm like, I want to upgrade my mic. This was years ago when I had a snowball that I got from Fry's Electronics.
Oh man,
and it looks nice because it's black, but it has this cool shiny ball to it.
And just my side note about the snowballs, because I bought that USB mic too. I thought, this is going to be great.
And it's a great first mic.
It's a great first mic.
By the way, highly recommended. Get that mic first.
It's a good place to start.
It's a great place to start.
But I gotta say, I felt like I was confused by the pattern, by the audio pattern of it, and because of where I was recording, like I bought it to send in auditions, and I was it might have been the space. I mean, I was in the kitchen. You know what I mean? I did not have a good recording space in that apartment in Chicago.
Well, it's funny that you say that because I was like, I didn't know what to do. And Juan Carlos Bagnell,
some gadget guy.
He used to be some audio guy,
but now he's some gadget guy. You can follow him on Twitter, right?
Follow him on Twitter and just shoot him a little question. I hope you don't get bombarded too much. I'm sorry, but we used to advertise because he would booth directed Voicecaster, which you mentioned, where we go occasionally, all the time sometimes. And he would advertise, hey, want to take a mic class? And he was advertising to the demo that would thirst for that kind of knowledge, and it was voice actors. And I thought about it, and I asked him one time, hey man, do you do private consultations? He came over to my place twice.
What?
He came over to my place for an hourly fee. He came over to my place, evaluated the space that I wanted to record in, gave me a crash course in acoustics and audio physics, it felt like. And he kind of told me what he was going to do the next time, and he gave me homework kind of thing. I recommend, if you want to do it inexpensively, but it's just as effective, get a whole bunch of moving blankets, or you can go to Guitar Center and get all that foamy stuff. But you know what? Moving blankets, the blue moving blankets, they work. Yeah. So, a couple weeks go by. I says, hey, I finished the room. Want to come back? So he came back. He evaluated it. He checked it out. The sound was deadened and dampened, the ambient noise. And he gave me 3 choices. He goes, based on your voice, based on what I'm hearing from you, and the type of work you do, these are the kind of questions he was asking. Here's this mic. It's inexpensive and it has this effect. He gave me this other mic, this middle of the road mic that does this, that, and the other thing. It would be boring for me to lay in all the details. And then he gave me the microphone. And he had me try out all these things with copy that I had on my music stand. And he played them back for me, and he gave me this is a little weak, and it's not as strong, and it doesn't give you it doesn't capture those rich bass tones that you have at the lower register of your voice. And this the shotgun, your voice is very powerful. You have a lot of power, that East Coast vibe, and you have a lot of intensity in your thing, in your instrument and stuff like that. So the shotgun just sucks in that stuff directionally, and maybe that's not the best choice. And listen for yourself. I chose the middle one, which was an SE microphone, and it was just it's been glorious. I've done professional jobs where I had to do ADR or promo looping and stuff like that on that mic, and it was perfect. Not only that, he evaluated the space, and a lot of times we see am I boring you?
No.
Are you okay with this?
Yeah.
A lot of times we see that butt the mic right up against this little tiny cubicle like you're voting, and it's just buttered. No, it's in almost just off the middle of my room, facing the far wall at an angle, because, hey, man, this is what happens to sound. It comes out the back of your chest, the front of your chest, including, of course, your mouth, your nose, your head. Right. You want that sound to dissipate, shoot it across the room, and then have dampening over there. Yeah. This is the kind of stuff this guy did. He knows his stuff. I highly recommend, and consider this a referral. To people based out of LA. He's an LA guy, so he can't be from Denver necessarily. Denver. He can give you tweets maybe, but yeah, I highly suggest getting somebody that knows. If you're the kind of guy that, Josh Keaton, for instance, he's a big do-it-yourself guy. Yeah. Hey Josh, how you doing? I hope this is cool that I'm telling people this. He's the kind of guy that he's really, really hands-on. He likes to figure out how to do it yourself kind of guy. He likes to figure it out and learn and buy the tools and all this other stuff. Me, I either don't have the time or confess I'm a little lazy. You know what I mean?
Part of it, man.
But you need that private that referral and that private consultation to really give you that individual attention, because when I asked him, I was asking him just flip. He told me about, you're on a Mac. What do you think, Mac or PC? And he smiled because he probably gets this question 1,000 times, being a gadget guy. He goes, the right tool for the right job. And that includes microphones. That includes actors with a particular role.
That's
you know what I mean?
Exactly right.
So anyway, that was my plug for Juan.
That's great. And very informative and helpful, because I do feel like that stuff becomes, it's like, when people ask you, do you want, how do I get started? It's like, do you really want to get started? How far are you prepared to go and how deep you want to go before you get started and you're set up in your room? And while you're always working on the kind of artist that you are, you're always,
that's where I focus my attention.
Exactly. And I want to be able to focus on that. I want to know that it's not my room. Some people can do both. Yeah, exactly. And because you don't want to worry that it's your room. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to know that. I feel this way all the time. A lot of folks I know do their auditions in iPhones because they're convenient. I don't travel with I have a recording device on my phone if need be, but I always travel with my microphone. I always travel with my portable stuff. I have it here now in case I need it. I can pull out Excalibur right now.
Oh, cool.
I haven't named it to Excalibur until just now because it's a little weird to name your microphone.
Well, you just pulled that right out of your ear, huh?
Yeah, but but I need it because there's been enough times where my audition has been lifted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's the thing that goes to air. Mm-hmm. I've done stuff on Kimmel. I just did a promo for Nickelodeon out of New York that got lifted. My audition got lifted.
That's cool.
So it's like, oh man, I that's why I want to have that space right.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So it can go out.
Like I did a Jason Statham voice match that went to
them really good too.
He's the thing, right?
Right? It's awesome.
But that's all about proximity.
Talking to Turkish. Yeah, I know, right?
Do
you romance them? Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta. Like it was a fascinating thing. Like, there's this exercise I want to do, but I don't want to sacrifice our thing. But I'll tell you this quick story. Okay. So I did ADR in the movie Divergent.
Oh, cool.
And I did Ray Stevenson. Ray Stevenson, who did The Punisher in The Punisher Warzone. He was Titus Polo in Rome. And, I don't necessarily do a Ray Stevenson, voice per se. But when I did the audition, it was Liam Neeson-y. I can't even remember what the copy was, but it was challenging because he had to project. Mm-hmm. So when I was working in the mic on the audition, I had it because I was over at CESD in the booth with Steve, I think. I did the audition and I had nice proximity. It was close. And they're like, great, well, book Kiff. I went there. I get to the studio and it's over on Olympia, over by Olympic. It doesn't matter where it was. Okay. But I go into the studio and go do the mic is there, and when you go into ADR situation, often the mic is set where the boom guy would be holding the microphone. Mm. Now, when we auditioned, the mic is 3 inches away from me.
Right.
But so they can get accurate proximity of the microphone distance from the actors as it would be in the frame.
Right.
That mic's out of frame. So Ray is projecting to a room of people.
Right.
So I do what I did in the audition. It doesn't read. It doesn't match what I did on the audition.
Funny. See, mic technique is so big.
Right.
I mean, and knowledge of what the effects of that change will be.
Exactly. And fortunately for me, what happened was the ADR director was like, geez, we're just not getting it. We're just not getting it.
And on a personal note, how did that make you feel?
Oh, horrible.
Your whole body goes warm.
Yeah, you go, oh my God.
Your butt tingles like, I'm never going to work again.
And the worst part of it, for me, I know it bothers you too. The worst part is they're still going to pay you.
Yeah.
But because it's like, I'm going to get paid. I'm going to walk out here for doing nothing. It's like, yeah, money in my pocket. And I'm like, no. I didn't.
I always ask for one more take.
Yeah, me too. Well, fortunately, here's what happened was the mixer, when I came in, he also put a lav on my chest. He put and he was like, let me play you back what I'm hearing. And he played her back the lav feed. And it sounded exactly like Ray Stevenson.
Oh, well, there you go.
So it was like the proximity was the thing that was making the difference.
And by the way, this is a great point. You brought something up. Engineers, man.
Oh.
The beautiful, glorious, unsung heroes of every job in voiceover.
Every job.
I mean, they are just like
your advocates.
Right on point.
Yep.
They're your advocates. They always make... I had to get out of the practice of knowing, doing, like asking questions that is their jurisdiction and just knowing my effing role. You know what I mean?
They
are so on it.
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about. Are you going to stand there like when? And I learned really early on. Like I'm nervously stiff. I have like a pole up my backside, and I'm like, she's setting up the mic, and then I get comfortable and I change my position, and he goes, oh, hold on, I got to come back in and change your position. Like, you know what I mean? Like they're right on it. They can hear little nuances. And
it's like you posing for a picture when they're setting the mic, and it's like, are you really going to try to play this Draenor and Warcraft in that physical physical position.
But I'm like, when I first started, I was just like, do you want me to get, and this is another no-no. Oh, this is so weird and so inside baseball. Don't know, and that's important. I guess that's the phrase, that's the ace. Hopefully people can teach. Know your role.
Yeah.
Don't try thinking you're being generous and friendly
and helpful
to do anybody else's job.
Yeah.
The engineer knows. They know the lay of the land. They know their equipment and they know their mic. Just they're gonna build this shell of we're hearing you around your head, and you just do you. You do you, boo boo. You do you.
That's right.
So I mean, like, really, that's important. Know your role, because these engineers are on it. I've worked with a lot of engineers, and man, oh man, they never cease to be just a constant support and help to everybody else in the room.
Agreed.
And it's awesome, from the client to the producer and the director to the guy or gal who's behind the glass. So I love the engineers.
So I want to take a U-turn, or not a U-turn, a slight detour. We're fast running out of time.
I know. We have 5 minutes left.
I know this, but I think we'll be able to do it because I'm really curious. I went to a comic book store. One of my favorite exercises to do with my voiceover students when I teach over at Second City is to bring in comic books. I feel like comic books are a really helpful device to use to try to find a character voice.
Cool.
And what I'm interested in is process. So go ahead and open this.
Oh, awesome.
The magazine I have, I've not even looked at them. I just grabbed 2 identical ones so we can play a scene.
You're like doing a magician. I have not seen these comic books.
I've not seen these comic books. I don't even know if this will work.
I don't even know. There could be dirty pictures.
This might not work.
What is this?
Well, like, I mean, when you look, okay, the very first page here, there's a 2-person scene.
Ooh, she's pretty.
She is pretty. It's beautiful.
Wow, nice.
This is by Avatar Comics. And it's called Crossed.
Badlands.
And I know nothing about it, but I do. But you know, often when you do an audition, you have very little information to go on when you do. So if you do an animation audition or as we both have quite a bit of success in video games, you know, you got to make snap decisions based on what this character looks like, what their situation is, and then what the dialogue is. What'd you see?
Oh my goodness. It's like that.
Oh, I didn't realize
it's like that mud wrestling KY jelly scene in Old School.
Yeah, it really is.
Girls. Oh my goodness! I think this
the Jello wrestling.
This should Jello. You should pay $1 for that picture alone.
I think you're right.
Good Lord, that is wonderful and tempting. Okay, so anyway, you were saying.
So this is what I wanted to do with you was to look at this first page. Just this first scene.
All right.
And to play the scene with you, but my curiosity really comes from what your process is. How do you look at something like
my
this?
Personal process?
Yeah, and maybe this is something I got to save for next week, just because we're running out of time. But screw that. Let's tarry through, and then Gabe will come in and kill the mics. But I'm curious, like, what? Just looking at this scene, which is 1 page here. There's a male and a female character, and I'll take the female character, you guy with a beard.
Wait, just these two?
That's right. Those two characters.
Panels?
They start in the background. Okay. We can go from the top, from kid was an accident waiting to happen, all the way down through the truth belongs to Victor and the dog. So if we read that scene together,
let's read it together and
see what happens.
You want?
I'll take the woman, the person in the purple.
You take the woman,
and you take the man.
Okay.
Kid was an accident waiting to happen.
You believe those girls?
I believe Ashlyn took a beating. I believe Leon took a bullet.
So we just take their word. Take their word. The boy had it coming.
If he raped that girl, he did.
And if he didn't?
Let it go, Gregory. We're not cops. Truth belongs to the victor, dog, and Leon lost. So if we were
I want to do that again.
All right, let's do it again. Okay. Yeah.
Let's do it again.
So here's the thing. What adjustments do you make? Yeah, that's a total cold read.
Well, first of all, I look external. First of all, the guy looks haggard. Like, literally, I'm looking at the front page. He looks like he took, like, he's arrows to all the legs. He's bleeding out. He's got this bandage on his head. Like, there's, conditioning forces. They're walking outside. How loud do I want to be? I'm looking at this panel right now, and there's 2 other girls in this story who are walking about 20 yards ahead. Do I want to keep the conversation really private, really kind of like intimate, or do I not care what they hear about this thing? You know, what's my relationship to you? I would say I'm attracted to her, and I'm not married to her. I'm not a partner with her, or I'm not romantically involved. We just met that morning. We just met 2 years ago. We've gone through everything together. We've gone through nothing together. These are the questions I ask, and that would affect how I deliver those lines.
Excellent. So in this situation, as we're doing that cold read, you're making those decisions in the moment.
I'm doing my best anyway.
Ideally, you'd be able to have this copy and spend some time with it, which you would.
Well, here's the thing. Even 2.5 to 5 minutes with this copy, with these models, when you go into for instance, on a video game job, in many cases, our wonderful agents at CESD get us the copy a day or a week in advance or somewhere in between.
Yes.
Sometimes there's a model or what people will call a picture or a face. It's like the model. Sometimes you get it. Sometimes you don't. When you don't, you just fill in the blanks. When you do, you let that affect your choices. And sometimes, though, you get called to a studio and you don't see it. You don't see the copy until you're waiting outside the room.
And it's
but when
NDAs
you wait outside the room,
and all that other stuff.
NDAs, all kinds of stuff. You got to sign. Like you can't take it with you.
Right.
You can't even take it in the room. They have a special laminated one.
Yes.
Pinned to the podium.
Yeah.
So you do have those 5 minutes though, and I can't say enough like how important like punctuality and preparation is.
Right.
Preparation. You know what I mean?
So listen, I just got the word from Gabe. He's not going to come in here and kill the mics, but he's going to make us do that. So
if I can come in next time, I'd like to give a little bit of a shout out to the wonderful Fallout fans out there that have questions.
Oh man, yes,
about that game. But maybe next time it got away from us because it's so awesome to hang with you.
Awesome to hang with you.
I apologize.
We will absolutely
community.
address Fallout questions that people may have for Brian. If you have those questions, please feel free not only to tweet them directly to Brian, but also include all over voiceover Kiff or all over VO Kiff.
Right.
In your tweets, and I'll make certain that it gets online. And
yeah,
we'll
I
be able to do
apologize, guys and gals out there. I got carried away because I love hanging with Kiff.
I love hanging with you, but you know what's great is I think we dove deep into process.
A big question, and before Gabe comes in,
a
big question is process. How did you and I get started, and what do we do in our daily voiceover career? So those questions
I do feel like we addressed that.
A lot of it, yeah.
Just a quick thing for vocal stress. I like giving tiny gifts to my guests and sidekicks and etc. And Brian, I brought in you here these cough drops.
Thank
they're
you.
Manuka honey cough drops, and they're very helpful to bring your voice back.
I needed these. You told me about these and the
Manuka honey and then Chico and curcuma.
Thank you so much,
It's an herbal
man.
supplement that you can take that helps
ginger with echinacea. You can't go wrong with ginger with echinacea.
You can find that at CVS, and you can find us again very soon. I think we're going to try to be recording next week, Wednesday again. However, since we're not live, when you see it, if you subscribe to this podcast, you'll know the next one.
Yeah, this is the inaugural one, so we're working out the kinks, and I didn't feel like it was too kinky.
Me neither. It's about to get kinky once we start playing this closing music. Hey, you guys, thank you so much for joining us. We couldn't do it without you. Actually, we could because I paid for this out of pocket. But I hope that you keep coming back, and I hope that you found some fun stuff, and y'all are the best. Brian Delaney, thank you so much.
Thank you.
You can follow
You're
Brian
awesome.
Delaney at Brian_T_Delaney, and you can follow me on Twitter at KiffVH, and same thing on Instagram as well. You guys are great.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Thanks so much, Brian. This has been All Over VoiceOver with Kiff VH. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed the show, please go to iTunes and give us a positive rating. It truly helps. Follow me on Twitter at KiffVH, or on Instagram at KiffVH, or on Vero at KiffVH. Thanks so much for listening. Talk to you soon. Claim victory and depart the field.
Werewolf?
There.